Hey guys, it's Robin, and you're listening to the Live Life Balance podcast. My heart is full knowing that you're here today, prioritizing you and your wellness. This podcast is for women looking for an authentic, supportive community to learn about wellness from all angles, and who want to just feel their best. I'll be your guide, pointing you to ideas and tools that you can experiment with to find what works for you, because we all bring different experiences and knowledge to the table. No pun intended. Health is not a one-size-fits-all. By feeling our best, we're able to show up in our purpose, and that allows us to live the most joyful life, even in the most challenging times. Together, we're going to grow by learning to align ourselves and taking some simple, actionable steps that feel right for you. We're going to talk about self-care. We'll talk about nutrition, daily toxins. We'll talk food swaps. We'll definitely be talking about mindset and reframing our thoughts because it's so important. I hope that you leave today feeling more empowered and at ease. And I hope that you can take one or two small steps to be able to create the you that you want to be. Are you ready for all the possibilities? If you said yes, say, I am ready. Now let's get into it. Happy Hump Day. As you guys know, I drop an episode every Wednesday, and you might be wondering why I chose Wednesday. So I wanted to tell you, I chose Wednesday because for me, that Hump Day is symbolic of steps or a climb to create something new for ourselves. You know, we have to work and do little shifts and meet little steps on the way, and then we get to that hump or like the top of where we're starting to see change. We're starting to unravel some of the stuff that needed to be unraveled. We're taking that next step towards whatever goal that you're setting for yourself. And you get to that teetering point on the top where you've actually created those habits and you've created things to propel you forward. And then you're standing up on that top or the cliff or the hump, and you're now getting to see what it looks like if you continue with those steps and those things to actually make it to whatever the goal is that you've set for yourself. And those goals don't have to be anything monstrous. They can be little things like creating your morning habit. It could be little things like getting out and moving. Whatever it is you choose to create for yourself, I just feel like that Wednesday, that hump day, is symbolic. And so that's why I chose Wednesday to drop my episodes. Today, I've had on my heart a lot of things to do with turning 50. Some of us are already 50, some of us are about to be 50, but I feel like in the beginning of like your 40s, entering, the end of the 40s and getting to the 50s, something shifts. And I don't know if that's for all people, but I feel like maybe it is. So I just thought I wanted to talk a little bit about that, what that looks like for me, and maybe you can visualize yourself in some of these things. Maybe some of these things will ring true. But I also feel like we don't talk about a lot of things. And so today I just wanted to take some time to put some things out there. So again, just like Hump Day, it's like we're growing as people from when we're babies and, as we grow into children, and then, as we get a little bit older and we start to have more autonomy over our choices and our things, and then we become adults and we leave our parents, and there's just so much that happens. But for me, from a very early age, I knew that I wanted to be a mom. I knew that I really wanted to do whatever it took to be a stay-at-home mom. And I also wanted to be a teacher. And I want to say around age 6, 7, and 8 I would say that all the time. I also wanted to be a waitress, which I did try for a day, but that didn't work out so good. So I dumped that off the list. But as I entered college, I kept going to the Career Center, and it kept saying, work with children. And I thought, okay, well, I've had this whisper all my life to be a teacher. And so that's what I did. I applied and I went to school to be an educator. And then I got my master's in education, and I worked until we had our first daughter. Being a mom for me became my number one job. My job as their protector, my job to make sure that they were going to grow into good human beings. my job was to make sure that they stayed alive because, as you know, when you have little kids, sometimes that can be a feat in itself, just keeping everybody treading water and above water. So we kind of kept going on our way through life, and being a stay-at-home mom was what I wanted, and so we made some sacrifices to make that happen. But along the way, I always volunteered. I worked with nonprofit organizations. And then when they got a little bit older, I started working part-time, and I always did something little for myself. But in hindsight, looking back, I feel like I really missed the boat on the self-care piece and doing more of that. So that was one of the things that I feel like, not that I missed, but that if I could give advice to anybody that's younger going through, parenting for the first time, I would say, carve out more intentional time for self-care, because the older your kids get, it doesn't get it really any easier to create that space. But I do know now from doing it that creating that intentional space for yourself and filling your bucket, whatever that might look like, that could be self-care, routines in the morning. It could be routines at night. It could be going to the gym. It could be having outings with your friends. It could be having a job. Whatever that looks like for you that fills your bucket, you definitely need to have to help you show up in your best self, your best version for your kids, your family, your friendships, your other relationships. Because I think a lot of times we get lost in what we're doing. We're so busy caring for other people that we forget to care for ourselves. Does this sound like something that rings true to you? It's just food for thought. It's, what are you doing now if you are in that age bracket of the 40s to the 50s or even earlier, that you might be able to shift to create a little more space for yourself, because you come first. You have to put yourself first in order to be able to show up in your best version for the people that are around you. There's a saying that I'm sure most of you have heard, but the days are long and the years are short. I feel like coming into my 50s, again, looking back at parenting, looking back at the last 20 years of what I've been doing, there were days where it was super long and I thought, are we ever going to make it? And then here we are, we made it. And so we have one child in college, one getting ready to graduate. And I was kind of reflecting on what some of my favorite times were with them. In our situation, my husband traveled a lot. So it was the three of us a lot during the week. And I would have to say, like, my most favorite time was car rides. I felt like when we got in the car, it was like therapy session. Everybody blurted out everything. The kids asked the weirdest questions and the strangest questions. And probably on a daily, Darren would get a text, "You're never going to believe what they said in the car today," or what they asked me. And I was not prepared for that. So as they grew up a little bit, having their friends in the car, they were just very special times. And I had a friend tell me, once they start driving, things shift. And so I tried to really hold on to the car rides, knowing that she had kind of been through that already and knew that things were going to change. And so I feel like when they start driving, it's that first, breakaway. It's the first little wings they're getting to spread. And so they start driving themselves, and you're no longer having those conversations in the car. So it's then finding time in other parts of the day to have those really meaningful conversations. But at the same time, not driving them places does open up and allow some extra space for yourself. And that's kind of when I started to realize that I needed to pour into myself a little bit more, because they were needing me less. So I feel like this age bracket brings change on both sides. The kids are, they're starting to grow and spread their wings, and they're starting to think for themselves and do things. And we are starting to then have to figure out, what are we doing? Or at least that's how it was for me. So if you can relate to this, I'd love to hear from you in the comments about, what it is that, or where you shifted, what stage of life did you feel that shift happening? For me, it really was when those car rides left. I feel like we as parents get like stages. So we have stages that kind of creates the small breakaway as they become adults. First they go to preschool, and so they're away from you for a couple of hours, and then they go to elementary school and middle school and high school. Then they have activities, and so everybody starts to be dispersed, and it seems like it should be getting less, but I feel like sometimes when you have all of that going on, it's more chaotic and you're running in 50 different places. And so again, you're forgetting about you. You're forgetting to carve out that time, for you to be able to build yourself in a way that allows you to be more authentic. And so as you get into those ages of 40s and 50s, and your kids, depending on obviously what age you had your kids, but this is just a generalized norm, but once they start going, no matter what age you are, once they start going to college and leaving the nest, you really have to think about what it is that you're going to do in that space for yourself. With all that being said, in my 50s and walking into this stage of life, I do feel like the last 5 years or so, going back to school, there was a friend and I used to always joke, like, what are we going to be when we grow up again? What are we going to be when we grow up? And that really weighed heavily on my mind the last probably 5 or 6 years. And I know it was a joke, but what was I going to do when my kids leave? Even though I had part-time jobs. So that's what kind of prompted me to go back to school, because I do love to educate. I do love wellness. I feel like, 50s is a time for like self-reflection. Later 40s and 50s, you're starting to self-reflect. You're starting to, look at your self-care, look at your self-love. Where do you put yourself? Are you putting yourself first? If you're not putting yourself first, why is that? What are the roadblocks that are standing in your way of you going first? Because again, what I have learned is that putting yourself first allows you to show up in your best version for other people. I think one of the questions that you can ask yourself is, what is our purpose? We're all given gifts. When we're born, we're given the gift of purpose. We're given a gift of passion for different things. And so what I would ask you to do is think about, what is your purpose? What drives you? What do you love to do? And how can you serve other people? Because I do believe that we are all here with these gifts to serve other people, because we're all on this earth walking different journeys, but walking a journey to get us home. And during that time that we're here, what can we each do to serve somebody else, to help them grow on their journey? So whatever job you're in, whatever you volunteer for, whatever you pour into your kids, I would love for you just to think about, what are some of those things that you do that shine your gifts and create purpose for you, but also to serve other people. Because in the end of the day, we are all here to serve. And by serving, we fill ourselves up with joy, with happiness, with peace, because we see other people evolving. And I think that's a good thing in our world. The last couple of years have been a lot of self-reflection, self-care, self-love that has come up for me. And what are the steps and the things that I'm doing to grow myself? I think, like I said, we are all created with a purpose and a passion for people and for me, it's for people in their wellness journey. I think for everybody, it might look a little bit different, but for most women that I've talked with over the years, one of the things I hear over and over is that they feel like they haven't taken time for themselves. And so I just want to ask you, if you're one of those people that really hasn't intentionally taken time for yourself, why? What are some things that are roadblocks? What are some things that hold you back? Women are known to be givers. That we have had people needing us for so long to keep them going. Plus, we also might have work, we have husbands, we have other relationships. And so naturally, we just put ourselves kind of on the back burner. But if I can change anything for women going forward, I would love for us to change that mindset and create a ripple effect of putting ourselves first. As my girls have gotten older, I've been able to see how putting myself first really does allow me to show up better for them in a different way. I'm showing up for them more as a guide, somebody who stands on the side, who watches and just gives, advice here and there rather than trying to tell them what to do or how to do it. I feel like because I have gotten myself in check and let go of some past things, or maybe how I was raised, it is definitely allowing me to show up better for all my relationships, to be honest. But most of all, I've learned that I don't have the energy, or I would say I don't have any more F's to give. I don't have the energy or the F's to give what other people think, or how they talk about me, or what they think about me, or what they like and don't like. Honestly, that doesn't resonate with me at all anymore. I probably, in my younger years, it did matter. It mattered how I came across to people, or what kind of an impression I left, or was I doing enough to be, giving enough to that person for them to get it. And I think at the age of 50, I finally stepped into my authentic self. I am speaking from my heart. I'm speaking on things that I'm passionate about, that I find to be helpful and serve a purpose for other people, to help them to walk better in their journey. And I'm not holding back any longer. And I think for a long time, due to whatever some of my past stuff was, and we all have that past stuff, we all have things from childhood, from parents, that are whatever our parents did, from growing up, from having interactions with other teens and other people, from other teachers. People say things and they don't realize how it impacts people. And so I think we all have some type of trauma. We either have big traumas or little traumas, and neither of them are bigger or smaller. They're all different, and they all can serve a purpose in our lives. We all have stuff that we have to heal from. And I feel like walking into 50 has given me permission to not have any of the F's to give, right? But it's also given me permission to create from a space that brings me joy, not what other people. If you find joy in what I'm doing, if you're learning from me, if you're taking away one nugget, if I resonate with you, if I make sense to you, if we align with each other, then please follow me, listen to me, get little nuggets here and there, because that's what it's all about. We all are putting our authentic selves out there so that other people that align with us can hear from us. So if you're holding back, if you're not in a job that fulfills you, if you're not in a relationship that brings you joy or fulfills you in a way that is helping you to grow to be a better person, then look at what you can do. Step out of yourself, go to a higher lens and look down. And if you are looking at your life, all the parts and pieces that are ticking every which way, because that's the craziness of life, what parts are not working efficiently? What parts are not balanced enough that you feel that they're out of alignment? Because those are the parts that need to be addressed. And if we can address those from a space of, is this working for me? Is this not working for me? If it's not working for me, what are my options? We are not stuck in anything. If you are unhappy in your career, do not spend the next 10 years unhappy. Look for things where you can use your gifting, where you can serve other people that brings you joy. If that's in a corporate job, great. If it's in a nonprofit job, great. If it's in a service-based job like nursing or teaching, great. If it's none of those and you're creative and you have something to give on the creative side, create a side hustle and find joy in it and see how it goes. And maybe that is where, you're supposed to be going. But without taking steps outside of your bubble, you'll never know where you actually fit with. When I say fit, I mean fit with what you have to give to whom you need to serve. So looking at your skills, looking at your purpose, looking at your passions. If you feel like you're in a stuck state, that's the first step in which you can do to take a step forward. If I could ask you to do one thing to take away from this podcast episode today, is think about what are your gifts? What have you been given? Because everybody's been given something different. How can you use that gift to fill a passion that you have and to serve someone else? And when you can come up with those things, I challenge you or I encourage you to take a step, even as scary as it might be. Take a step forward and just see what is there for you. And when one thing is there for you, then maybe you'll take the next step forward. If you are someone who is struggling with health and wellness and you don't feel your best, I encourage you to look at what your gifting is. Look at what your purpose is. Look at what you're passionate about. If your health and wellness is holding you back from being able to look and do with those things, what can you shift today in your health and wellness that will then allow you to make the step in the other area? So for example, if you're struggling with energy, if you feel like every day you just have no energy and you look at what you're eating. If you're eating processed garbage all day long or not eating enough, you're certainly not going to have enough energy and brain capacity to even think about what your purpose is or your passion or, your gifts. If you are somebody who, feels less than and a lack of movement, if you're not getting enough movement, what can you do today to change that? Again, putting yourself first is going to allow you to show up in your best way. So if you put your health first, what would that do for the rest of what would that do for the other things that you have going on in your life that might be a little bit out of alignment? So again, I think for me, and I would love to hear from other people that are about to turn 50, who turned 50 or in their 40s, I feel like it's this shift that happens and it's like a whole new world opens up and your eyes are just changed to who you are and what you can be. And don't be afraid of that. Step into that, be authentic, push forward and challenge yourself, because we're only here with one life. We're only here to give one time in this earthly life that we need to do what we need to do to be our best versions. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that you got something out of this episode. Until next time, find peace, love, and light through breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities. Bye. I loved being here with you today. I hope that you got something from today's mini episode. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. Drop a comment below, and if you feel led to, download this episode and share it with someone that you love that needs to hear this message. To stay connected, check out my Instagram and Facebook pages at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Join my newsletter, my blog, or even opt in for my free junk food cleanse sheet at my website, which is www.livelifebalancedwithrobin. And if you're looking to work one-on-one with someone on your health journey, check out my services page on my website too. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. It truly means a lot that you are allowing me to be on your wellness journey with you. Until next time, find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to happen.